Universal Sports coverage of the World Hockey Championships, the 74th version of the World Hockey Championships, continues this afternoon from Cologne, Germany in the Lanxess Arena, where for the first time in World Championship play, the United States meets Kazakhstan. And today, the beginning of relegation round play for these two teams. John Allers along with Brian Hayward, glad to have you along. And with relegation round action, Brian Hayward, has to come, I believe, a bit of a change of sorts in the mindset for Team USA.
Well, first of all, I think Team USA has been humbled in this tournament. I think they're embarrassed by virtue of the fact that they are having to play in the relegation round, and I expect them to respond accordingly in this game. They've got a lot of stars up front who should be a handful for the Kazakhstan defense. TJ Oshie is a player who is big and strong. Kyle Oposo also fits that bill. Power forwards that can bring the puck to the front of the net. Team USA has had a tough time scoring goals in this tournament, but maybe the perfect opponent for them today in Kazakhstan, who have given up 14 goals thus far in their 3 games, and Team USA will look to pour it on. They're led by their captain, Jack Johnson. I think he's been very good in this tournament. It is the strength of the American team, I believe, their ability to rush the puck out of the defensive zone and to have certain defenders, especially Johnson and Keith Yandel, join the attack to help contribute offensively.
And we should, of course, clarify, relegation round play is to the bottom 4 teams of the tournament. They are playing for the right to come back and participate in the tournament again next year in Slovakia. Where Kazakhstan is concerned, they have also struggled to score goals, Brian, but where they have gotten goals is from Dmitry Dudarev.
And it's a little bit of a surprise because Dudarev is not a guy who has been lighting it up in the Continental Hockey League, the top professional league over in Russia, but they've only scored 4 goals in the tournament. Dudarev has 3 of them. You know that the Americans will have talked about him inside their locker room.
Well, 12 teams moved on to the qualification round. Their play began yesterday. Relegation round play begins here today in Cologne as the United States takes on Kazakhstan here on Universal Sports. West Germany, home to nearly 1 million people. Cologne, Germany is the site for the World Hockey Championships, and that is the Cologne Cathedral. They began building that back in 1248. We weren't playing World Hockey Championships that far back, but for just the second time under the current format, the United States this year finds themselves in relegation pool play today against Kazakhstan. They've never met before in World Championship play. They become the 28th different opponent in World Hockey Championship history for Team USA this evening. John Allers along with Brian Hayward. And Brian, I have to think that head coach Scott Gordon is going to learn a lot about his group here in these next 3 games in relegation play.
Yeah, they have been offensively starved in this tournament, but as I mentioned, perhaps the perfect opponent for them this afternoon, because this is a squad that is not big back on the blue line. So they're going to have, I think, a great deal of difficulty handling the American forwards down low. And I expect, whereas Team USA really hasn't had a ton of scoring chances in any of their games, John, I expect it to be a much different story this afternoon.
Well, I mentioned Scott Gordon. He and his coaching staff, including assistant coaches Joe Sacco and Ron Ralston and Todd Richards, have really only had this group together for maybe 10 days. On the other side of things, where Team Kazakhstan is concerned, their head coach, Andrei Shayanov, has basically, I guess, the form of a team he's accustomed to looking at. There's 15 different players on this squad that played together in the KHL for Shayanov.
Yeah, Barris Astana is the name of the team, and they finished 14th out of 24 teams in the KHL. There's a number of grizzled Continental Hockey League veterans in the lineup, and it'll be interesting to see how they start in this game. Starting goaltender, again, for the Americans, Scott Clemenson. No surprise there. A little bit of a surprise, however, for Team Kazakhstan, as Alexei Kuznetsov will make his first start in this World Hockey Championship.
Kuznetsov, who plays for that Astana team that Brian mentioned, making his debut in these World Championships, as the Americans in white with blue numbers and Team Kazakhstan in the blue with white numbers. We are underway at the Lanxess Arena here in Cologne. David Moss, who picked up a goal in the loss to Finland in USA's last game, digging for the puck in the corner, but unable to dig it out. And Sevchenko headmans the puck the other way for Kazakhstan's first trip into the American zone. Puck comes right to the front of the net. Clemenson has to make a nice save there as he kicks away the bid from Starchenko.
Yeah, it's a big stop in the early going. Boy, if that one goes in, Kazakhstan gets a little bit of confidence.
Puck cleared all the way down, and this will be an icing call as the Americans were in mid-change, and the first whistle of the hockey game comes just 45 seconds in, and there was Starchenko right on the doorstep to start the game.
Yeah, and a good stop by Scott Clemenson. Watch Clemenson get down early here. He knows that Starchenko is in tight. He tries to shovel it between the pads, but Clemenson just beat him on the play.
Konstantin Shafranov making the pass from behind the net. One of only 2 players on this Kazakhstan team that have any NHL experience at all. Vitaly Yeremyev, the goaltender who has played in all 3 games prior to tonight's action, played 4 games for the New York Rangers back in 2001. And the Americans score from behind the net. The first goal of the game belongs to TJ Oshie.
Oh boy, and the goaltender, Kuznetsov, is just sleeping on the play. He falls asleep. Oshie says thank you very much and grabs a loose puck immediately behind the goal and just spins and rams it between the goaltender's pads to give the Americans a 1-0 lead. Face-off win. That has been another area that Team USA has been very good, John. Watch this puck come behind the net. Look how relaxed the goaltender is. He's standing straight up. His stick is not on the ice. And TJ Oshie says, okay, thank you. And it is 1-0 for Team USA. And I cannot stress the importance of Team USA getting that first goal.
Well, I was just talking about Vitaly Yeremyev, who played a couple games for the New York Rangers, albeit 9 years ago. He had played all 3 games in this tournament for Kazakhstan, and the Americans get another as Kuznetsov is hung out to dry. There's the aforementioned Oposo, making it 2-0 just like that.
Well, we told you that this Kazakhstan defense is not really up to par in this tournament, and this is just a brutal turnover down low. And boy, the goaltender Kuznetsov's in shock right now, because the first 2 shots on goal for Team USA have resulted in goals. This one off the stick of Kyle Oposo. Watch the play down low, and look at the defensive zone coverage. I mean, Julayev just lets Oposo go, essentially to the front of the net. Nobody's playing defense, and Team USA takes full advantage. It's an early 2-0 lead.
Oposo, who had a couple of goals in Switzerland last year for Team USA in the World Championships, picks up his first goal of these World Championships in 4 games, and it is 2-0. Oshie, who had the game's first goal just a scant few seconds before, will get the assist, and it is 2-0 Team USA. We have played a minute 13. Now, Kazakhstan had yielded 14 goals through 3 games of pool play in this tournament as we get a whistle for offside. But they have found themselves underneath the avalanche of American offense and trying to settle his charges down on the Kazakhstan bench. Head coach Andrei Shayanov.
I don't think he needs to settle him down. I think he needs to wake him up, John, because they have been asleep at the wheel in the early going here. And a smart play here by the goaltender just to say, you know what, I'm going to give my coach every opportunity to change lines. That's another way a coach might inject a little bit of energy into his lineup. But boy, for Kuznetsov, as I mentioned, making his first start, this is about the worst possible scenario he could imagine.
Yeah, the 27-year-old yielding goals on the first 2 American shots of this game, and now Andy Green works deep in the Kazakh zone. The Americans get the cycle going down low and keep the puck below the goal line. They're still announcing the goals here at the Lanxess Arena, as the 2 goals came just 18 seconds apart in the first minute 13 of the game. Maxim Semenov, the draft pick of the Toronto Maple Leafs, plays the puck out of his zone for the Kazakhs, and it's sent deep where Clemenson will touch it for the first time since he made that point-blank save early in the game on Starchenko. When you look back, Brian, you were talking about the importance of making that big save early, and now it becomes that much bigger as the Americans come down and score on their first 2 shots.
Yeah, the next couple of shifts are huge for Team USA. They don't want to give up any scoring chances. Right now, the Kazakhs are back on their heels. They look a little bit bewildered at times. But as I mentioned, you know, this is a group that has played primarily together for an entire season. The reason they qualified for the World Hockey Championships, they actually won the Division I tournament, defeated Slovenia 2-1 in the championship game of that event in order just to get into this tournament. They've had some recent success on the international stage, But right now, they're floundering a little bit.
The early 2-0 lead also gives Scott Gordon an ability to roll all of his lines, all of his defense pairings, get everybody involved in the game early. As we see Matt Gilroy out there defensively, a couple of players, a couple of lines have disappeared down the stretch in the heat of the moment in the close games in pool play for him. But he's going to get a chance to look at pretty much everybody, not only because it's relegation play, but because they've got the early 2-goal lead.
Yeah, and I'll give Scott Gordon credit, too. He has made the decision, despite not having a lot of success, not to make a lot of changes to his lineup. I mean, the forward lines have been essentially the same for the past, this would be the third consecutive game, John, where he hasn't really juggled his lines. And he's trying to get some kind of consistency and stability, and it's nice to see them rewarded at the start of this afternoon's game.
Thinking new year, new career? UTI is the answer with focused technician training for the automotive.
Sports. Sign up for e-news at WOWT.com.
For Team USA here against Kazakhstan, 2-0 goals from Oshie and Oposo, 18 seconds apart in the first 73 seconds of the game. And Kuznetsov, the Kazakhstan goaltender, under a little bit of siege early on, just trying to touch the puck whenever he can and make some saves, while TJ Gagliardi drifts in the Kazakh zone. Knocked down is Nick Foligno, but he keeps the play alive in his skates, and Johnson slides it across. Matt Green leans into one. That missed on the short side. Johnson, as the shooting gallery persists, has his shot blocked out of play.
And the goaltender, Kuznetsov, is swimming right now, John. He's absolutely swimming. That shot missed the net by 3 feet, and he was down and out of position. If the follow-up point shot gets through, that's in the back of the net. Probably the other thing that we have to talk about here is that now the Americans can relax. They've got a couple of goals, and that's also very bad news for Team Kazakhstan.
Well, it equals the most goals they've scored in any of their games in this tournament. They had 2 against Finland in the loss on Wednesday. That was the most prior to tonight. They've equaled that. And to the front of the net again, a loose puck that Gagliardi spins back on net, and a good save by Kuznetsov.
Yeah, not only on the initial shot, but on the rebound bid as well.
Kuznetsov drops it off behind the goal. Picked up there by Kaledjev, who moves it ahead and out center ice. The Kazakhs lost to Belarus 5-2 to begin the tournament, then to the Russians 4-1 and the Slovaks 5-1. And they trail here 2-0. Tim Kennedy bumped as he comes from behind the net, but the puck kept in at the blue line. And now Ryan Carter works behind the goal. Carter bumped along the wall there by Litvinenko. Back to the point, and it's held in by Chorny. Chorny weaves his way to the hash mark, and his shot deflected over top of the net. A penalty coming up to Kazakhstan as Carter retrieves the puck once more. Chorny's shot blocked, comes right to Carter. Oh, and it just flubbed off the end of his stick, allowing Kuznetsov to recover, and a roughing penalty will be called here. And it's going to go against Dudarev, giving the Americans the game's first power play.
You know, John, there's a lot of good things happening in this game. It's actually going to be Vasilchenko that gets the roughing penalty called against him, but boy, you can see him just working over Tim Kennedy about 10 feet out in front of the Kazakh goal crease. Good stop again by the goaltender. An opportunity there for Ryan Carter. It's just out of his reach.
Well, in this tournament, the Americans have scored only once on the power play. This is just their 10th opportunity with the extra man. The Kazakh penalty kill has struggled a bit. They are 11th in this 16-team tournament as they clear the zone, and Yandel, who has the lone power play in this tournament for the Americans, starts that.
You know, I think those numbers are a little bit deceiving. We have seen some excellent power plays and some great scoring chances generated by the Americans when they do have the extra man. It's tough, you know, in a short tournament like this. Sometimes those statistics in particular can be a little bit deceiving.
Gavrilin ties up Gagliardi. Loose puck to Yandel. Fakes the shot. Now hands it off. Johnson takes the shot, and it flutters off a deflection to the corner. Sevchenko sends it around and out.
Yeah, Kuznetsov got a little piece of that blast off the stick of Jack Johnson, and it sure looks like, at least from long range, the Americans are expecting the goaltender to be down on his knees early, and they're trying to find those top corners of the net.
Alexei Vasilchenko sits in the Kazakhstan penalty box. He leads the Kazakhs with 8 penalty minutes in this tournament, the 29-year-old, but it's a short-handed rush the other way by Dudarev, and his shot ends up in the net out of play.
Well, there's that Dudarev again, and as we mentioned, 3 of the 4 goals in this tournament that Kazakhstan has scored have come off of the stick of Dudarev.
He was voted the best player in the loss to Belarus to open the tournament for the Kazakhs, a 14-year veteran of the elite league level in Russia. He's played for 9 different teams, a bit of a vagabond, but so many players in Europe do move around from elite league to elite league, and certainly within the Russian elite league system, Dudarev has done that. And there's another one that sneaks underneath as Matt Gilroy takes it in and snuck it underneath the right pad of Kuznetsov.
I don't know what the policy is in the Continental League, but if I'm Andrei Shayanov, I'm pulling my goaltender right now because he just doesn't look set and ready. Matt Gilroy scores, but again, the goaltender looks just way too relaxed on this play. It's an end-to-end rush. Look how deep he is. He's off balance. He's not down early. He walks right around Maxim Semenov, but the goaltender, you have to be expecting that if you're the goaltender, and it goes underneath the right leg of the goaltender Kuznetsov, and another one that he should have stopped.
Oh, it's a power play goal for Matt Gilroy, the former Hobie Baker winner at Boston University back in 2009, his first of the tournament. And the second power play goal of the tournament for Team USA, who now lead 3-0, just 6 minutes and 53 seconds into the game. I'm not sure that Scott Gordon could have scripted a better start for his hockey club.
Absolutely not. And it's not like Team USA has not worked hard. Captain Jack Johnson was talking about that, John. He said, you know what? We're working hard. We're getting chances. And all in all, for the most part, we've had the better of the scoring chances in a lot of our games, but just haven't found a way to win them. Disappointed where we are, but we've got to look forward and find a way to win the next 3.
And we should clarify relegation round play. There's 4 teams in this pool. The Italians and the French make up the rest of the pool. They are playing today as well. And the top 2 teams that come out of relegation pool play will participate in the 2011 World Championship slated for Slovakia. But the bottom 2, Brian Hayward, have to play their way back into the tournament by coming out of a lower level.
And that's because Slovenia and Austria, the first and second place finishers in the Division I tournament this year, automatically gain entrance into the World Hockey Championship next season. The elite division, which is what this is.
Of course, the Germans hosting this also bumped a team this year. That won't be the case next year in Slovakia. The Americans off to a great start. Just 8 minutes in against Kazakhstan, and Team USA has the most goals they have scored in any of the 4 games so far in the tournament, on top 3-0 as Hansen moves the puck ahead and the white-clad Americans send it deep into the Kazakhstan zone. Koledjev bumped and loses possession. And now Tim Kennedy, originally drafted by the Washington Capitals, now of the Buffalo Sabres, keeps the cycle going. He's on a line right now with Hansen and Ryan Carter of the Anaheim Ducks.
And Scott Gordon will be on the American bench, and he'll be saying to his charges, keep your foot on the gas here, gentlemen. Let's keep it going. They want to not only obviously win this hockey game, but in general terms, they really want to clean up a lot of areas in their game that could use some cleaning up.
Vadim Krasno-Slobachev in on the forecheck. I just had to get that name out at least once, Brian, so that it might come back to me. Now he cuts to the front of the net, and Krasno-Slobachev kicked it towards the goal, and it was poked away by Clemenson.
I think you just like saying that name. 16 letters, by the way, in his name. I didn't know that that was legal.
I practiced it for so long, you're darn right I like saying it. Kyle Oposo's name came up early in this one as he got the second goal of the game at just 1:13 on an assist from TJ Oshie. Oshie now has the team lead in this tournament for the Americans as he has picked up 2 goals so far, and the Americans have yet to be beaten in the face-off circle, as make it now 12-0 with that face-off win.
It is a much easier game to play when you start every shift with possession of the puck and you're not chasing your opponent trying to get it back. And that is a huge, huge feather in the cap of the American. Not only the centerman, John, but We talk about this a lot. A lot of the onus in winning faceoffs is on the wingers. If the centerman ties the opposing center iceman up, it's up to the wingers to get in there and recover those loose pucks. I believe it's the big strength and the big advantage Team USA has in this game. They have a lot of size and a lot of power on the wing.
Well, their top two face-off men in the tournament to this point have been Brandon Dubinsky, who's over 63%, and Ryan Patulny, who's better than 56%. Oposo with a bid there that is blocked, but Gilroy, who picked up the third American goal, sends it back towards the net. Taylor Chorney plays catch with Oshie. Stick handles at the line, drops it off. Gilroy speeds in, shot deflected by Gagliardi. Loose puck on the rebound. Oposo had a poke at it, and I believe Gilroy may have got his second of the game as he came for a flyby. It's 4-0.
Wow, and again, defensive zone play for Team Kazakhstan just not up to par. A lot of motion in the American attack, John, and a total breakdown in terms of the man-on-man defensive play of the Kazakhs. They're going to take a look at this video review.
Was there. Gilroy flew by from behind the net, and the one thing I do know, Brian, is Alexei Kuznetsov didn't know where the puck was.
Well, he's been down on, as I like to say, on his wallet a lot, which is the worst possible position for a goaltender to get in, and the position that is the most difficult to recover from when you're sitting on your rear end in the goal crease.
Let's see if we can get a better look at it here a second time. The call on the ice was goal.
It goes off the back of the goaltender. It looked to me like it went up into the top corner. We should see it from the overhead camera.
That's Oshie who comes in, and then I think the puck may hit him. Nope, did not hit him. I think it was Gilroy flying by.
It's in, and the snow angel tactic from Kuznetsov is not going to get the job done against this caliber of competition.
And I think it was Gilroy who came from behind the net and threw it through Oshie. You won't see him in this shot. Gagliardi jams it back.
It's off the
goaltender and in.
Off the mask, in. 4-0 Team USA. And will we see a goaltending change here?
After further review, it is Gilroy's goal, his second of the game and of the tournament, and it's now 4-0 as Kuznetsov and the Kazakhs find themselves on the short end of an American onslaught here, not even halfway, just barely halfway, I should say, through the opening frame. Mike Lundin shovels it back on the backhand, and Jack Hillen's pass ahead is broken up in the neutral zone. Gavrilin lifts it back in, and after it goes Andy Green, reversing it away for Lundin. The native of Burnsville, Minnesota, forced to reverse it back, and it's Green once more who moves it along the Americans away to center. Stick handling all the way across the zone, and able to move it in deeper is Dubinsky. Dubinsky finds himself on a line with Foligno and Moss as Scott Gordon has shaken up the line pairings a little bit for this one. Moss, who had a good game against Finland, moves it along out of the corner, and Dubinsky trying to weave his way to some open ice. Ran into Kaledjev in the corner, but gets up and gets it back.
Yeah, and this is just a game of keep away right now for this trio of American forwards. I mean, they are completely dominating play along the boards. And we got a hooking penalty now coming up against Team USA.
Moss coming out of the corner of Dubinsky, hooked Gavrilin, who was able to kick that puck free, and it will be Moss who gets the gate after playing exclusively in the Kazakh zone for about 35 seconds with the puck. As soon as Gavrilin gets it away from Moss here, he gets caught for the hook.
Yeah, stick goes to parallel. He makes contact with the hands. A little bit of inconsistency, John, in the refereeing we've seen from game to game in this tournament. It's not the same standard that we're used to seeing in the National Hockey League, where if a defender brings his stick up to parallel and makes contact with his opponent's hands, it's automatic in the NHL. I can't say that about, or I can't say the same thing about this tournament. Here's a look at that last American goal. Gilroy throws it off the mask to add insult to the start for Kuznetsov. Rub a little salt in the wound. Bang it in off of his mask and in.
Since it hit him in the head, maybe it's adding injury to insult. First power play chance of the afternoon for Team Kazakhstan. 20% in 3 games on the tournament. That has them ranked 4th overall in these World Hockey Championships. The Americans able to send it away. And you see the Americans 80% on the kill. Starchenko brings it in. Boy, remember he had that good chance early for Team Kazakhstan, and Clemenson held him at bay, and you wonder how or if things might have been different had he been able to sneak one by the American netminder. 4-0 Team USA. Slid across, and that shot Clemenson never got to him, and he was frozen for a moment as Semenov keeps it in up the boards, but Christian Hansen brings it to the middle and is able to clear the zone. Starchenko and Semenov, the defense pairing on the power play now for Team Kazakhstan, but problem is they don't have the puck. The Americans rag it back on the kill for another 35 seconds, and not being pressured a whole lot to give the puck back.
Yeah, and this is about confidence right now for Kazakhstan, John. You know, a little bit shell-shocked at this point in the game. Even at the man advantage, there is reluctance right now for any of their players to challenge the American puck carrier.
And Bumagan didn't even chase that puck to the corner. He peeled back to the boards, and it's easily cleared down. And now Vasilchenko handles behind the Kazakhstan net, and under 10 seconds to go in the penalty to David Moss. Bumagan brings it in, drops it back at the line. Litvinenko sends it to the corner as the penalty expires. Dearborn, Michigan native David Moss out of the box, and the Americans full strength 1-for-1 on the kill tonight. They're also 1-for-1 on the power play, leading by 4.
That was a very good penalty kill for Team USA. They kept the pressure up for the most part. Only really had to get passive just one time, which is rare for a penalty killing unit on this big ice surface. That's the big difference on the big rink, is that you have no choice sometimes when you're killing a penalty than to just back off and make sure the middle of the ice is taken care of.
TJ Oshie moves it into the middle and eludes a Poso. Glove down. And cleared back by Team Kazakhstan. Spiridanov bumped by Gilroy, the offensive star in this game, unable to make his way up the boards, and the loose puck shoveled by Kreider below the goal line. Quick puck movement for the Americans. Moves it away from pressure, and now Oshie gets it from Chorney and clears it across the zone for Kreider. 19-year-old out of Boston College angles it all the way back, and Koledjev moves it away. Gavrilin into the American zone, drifts back, and his pass to the line is across the line, offside the call. Just under 5 minutes to go in a first period in Cologne, Germany, here at the World Hockey Championships that has been all Team USA. 4-0 the Americans on top of Kazakhstan. Blue at the Lanxess Arena in Cologne through the first 15 minutes of play against Team Kazakhstan. The Americans enjoy a 4-0 lead. Next up for Team USA tomorrow, they take on the French, and Kazakhstan will meet Team Italy. Now there's a little measure of 45 minutes of hockey still have to be played before either of these teams worry about their next opponent. Relegation round play will conclude for the Americans on Tuesday against the Italians. And unfortunately for Team USA, the tournament is over for them at that point. Clemenson flashes the left pad on Koreshkov, and Moss sends it across the neutral zone. Dubinsky picked up by Antipin as he's forced in behind the Kazakh net.
Team USA has done a nice job of cycling pucks down. Look at the defenders come down off of the blue line to add a little bit more motion in. It has been confusing at times to the Kazakhs, John.
Dubinsky got his own rebound. Kuznetsov made the first save. I'm not sure the second bid ever got through to the Kazakhstan netminder. And now it's Koreshkov in behind his own net.
Now fans may be wondering, have there been any Kazakhstan players play in the National Hockey League? Well, You mentioned a number of them have had a cup of coffee there, but the big name is really Nick Antropov, who led the Atlanta Thrashers in scoring this year. Required hip surgery, John. And it's why he's not playing in this tournament. And boy, could they use a big body like Antropov in the lineup and a guy with some nice hands.
Konstantin Shafronov is playing number 24 in blue for Team Kazakhstan here this afternoon. He got 5 games with St. Louis, as I mentioned, back in 1997, but has primarily found himself playing in the lower minor leagues in the United States. Played for the Fort Wayne Comets this year in the International Hockey League. There he is right there, Shafronov, 24, trying to work the puck into the American zone. At age 41, he's still producing a point a game at the IHL level, but Brian, I guess for the baseball analogy, it's pretty much the equivalent of AA, if you will. The Americans come in again, and Johnson slides it across. Hansen had a gaping 4x6, and he threw the puck out of the barn.
Yeah, it may have been tipped at the very last second by the Kazakh defender, but a good rush. And that's the other thing that we've seen in this opening period. Team USA attacking with speed, and the Kazakh defense unable to deal with it. Another glorious opportunity for the Americans. Good speed. Tim Kennedy, the puck carrier, he tries to slide it across. It's close to a 5th goal for the Americans here in the opening period.
Romariev brings it in for Kazakhstan, and his little pass over for Krasnoslabachev is deflected away. And Gilroy back the other way. Ahead for Hansen, another chance, and he tries to slide it in front from almost on the goal line. Kuznetsov got enough of it, although he didn't look all that comfortable in the play that he made on it. He hasn't looked too comfortable this entire first period. Ryan Carter comes in and fires, and Kuznetsov stayed with that one. Back come the Kazakhs. Romariev gets it in deep, and Clemenson waits for it there. Gagliardi's pass back off Gilroy's skate, but he's able to handle it. Now Jack Hillen out defensively with Keith Yandel. Hillen of the New York Islanders missed 13 games this season after taking an ill-advised Alexander Ovechkin shot to the face, broke his jaw, and had to play the rest of the season with a special face guard. There's Yandel. Oh, and again, he had Kuznetsov all tied up in knots.
Yeah, that was a little old school by Kuznetsov as he moves laterally, stays on his feet the whole time, and actually makes a pretty nice stop.
Well, Vorontsov may have gotten away with one there as he appeared to interfere with a Poso up the near boards, but play goes on, and in neutral zone, Jack Johnson rifles it back around and in. The American captain Johnson played over 26 minutes in that game against Finland. Of course, it was a must-have game for the Americans that they unfortunately did not get. But down the stretch, it seemed, Brian, as if all we saw on the blue line for the Americans was Yandel and Johnson.
Yeah, well, there are 4 players in Scott Gordon's lineup who've averaged more than 20 minutes. And number 1 and number 2 are Johnson and Yandel. Up on the forward lines, both Kyle Oposo and Brandon Dubinsky have averaged more than 20 minutes a game thus far in the tournament.
Nick Foligno works the end boards with under a minute to go in the opening period as the Americans again work in the Kazakh zone where they have played most of this period, as you can see from the shots on goal, which are now 16 and 8 in favor of the Americans, and Clemenson handles that one from about 90 feet away rather handily.
Yeah, how about Scott Clemenson? It's got to be a good feeling for him.
Yeah, a little goal support.
A little bit of support offensively to take a little bit of the pressure off. You know, he's been very good in this tournament, sparkling goals against average, but it's the old story. If your team does not score more than 1 goal a game, very difficult to win.
And the Kazakhs win their first face-off of the game. Starchenko gets a one-time blast away right away, and Clemenson holds on to that.
Boy, just looking at the body language already in this game of Team Kazakhstan, you can see, John, that they're really shell-shocked still at this point.
I don't think that was the shot Starchenko wanted to get off, but it was a bit of a rolling puck on him, and he just got it off as quickly as he could. And an offside call here with under 15 seconds to go in the first period.
Well, great start, obviously, for the Americans. Much different looking bench than we have seen at any point in this tournament couple of smiles. They're having fun, and they're exactly where they want to be in this game.
Yet another face-off win for Team USA as Eric Nystrom sends it in high, and it's juggled and held by Kuznetsov. And you have to wonder if that might be the last we see of Alexei Kuznetsov, given an intermission period, whether or not head coach Andrei Sheyanov may make a goaltending change. Of course, only time will tell as we have a couple of ticks left on the clock here in the first.
You know, we're so used to seeing in the National Hockey League coaches make goaltending changes and saying, you know, things like in the middle of a period or after a bad goal to send a message to their team. It's rare that it happens, especially from coaches in the Continental Hockey League, that they change in the middle of a period. So would not surprise me if Sheyanov makes the move now. I think he should have made it a lot earlier because Kuznetsov, boy, he has just struggled from the outset.
Well, the Americans get a pair of goals from Matt Gilroy and one each from TJ Oshie and Kyle Oposo, and smiles all around as they head to the locker room after a very successful first period here in Cologne. Team USA on top of Kazakhstan 4-0 on Universal. Team USA leads Kazakhstan 4-0 in relegation round play here at the World Hockey Championships in Cologne, Germany. A first period that started frantically as it was an early save from Scott Clemenson for Team USA, but then less than a minute into it, the Americans would get on the scoreboard.
Alexei Kuznetsov, the Kazakh goaltender, sleeping on the play. Watch Oshie grab this puck. The goaltender's not ready. He just slams it right between his feet. And it's 1-0 for the Americans. That, boy, they just kept on coming. Lots of pressure down low and some really sloppy defensive zone work from the Kazakhs. As watch Team USA work the puck in behind the net. It's going to squirt. But that's the opening goal again on the wraparound by TJ Oshie. One more look at it. Kuznetsov absolutely not ready on the play. I might have pulled him at that point. I mean, we're only a minute and a half in.
That's 55 seconds into it. This is just 18 seconds later.
Yeah, Oposo again accepts a pass from the corner and a defensive zone breakdown. He is wide open. He shows good patience and just waits for the goaltender Kuznetsov to hit the ground before he hoists it over top of him. But that's an easy looking goal for Team USA. Nice little pass though by Oshie from behind the net. What a period it was for TJ Oshie. He had the goal, he had a couple of assists as well. Kyle Oposo with a pretty little finish. That line was dominant in the first period of play. And then on the power play, Matt Gilroy rushes the puck up the ice, splits the Kazakh defense. And again, Kuznetsov, John, did not appear to be ready for this one. Pretty little play as he walks right around Maxim Semenov, but the goaltender's deep. He was slow to react. It actually goes underneath his right leg. If he just stands there, the puck hits him. It's 3-0 Team USA, and they kept on coming. And this is a strange one. It's the snow angel tactic by the goaltender. Not a lot of fun to watch, especially if you're a former goaltender, and it's never going to work. And as a result, it's Gilroy's second goal of the game. He jumps on a loose puck. The goaltender is down and swimming. And Gilroy's behind the net, circles around and just throws it towards the crease. But Kuznetsov has no idea where the puck is. Watch him, he's just kind of flailing around in the crease. And now Gilroy throws it back and hits him in the mask and is over the line for a 4-0 Team USA lead. I'll be amazed if we see Kuznetsov in that Kazakh goal crease in this second period.
Well, it was all Americans opening period, and not just on the scoreboard. The shot chart, a 2-1 advantage for Team USA. They convert on their own power, or their only power play, I should say. But as you look at the penalty minutes, Brian, you see an extra 2 for Kazakhstan, because as we went away to break there, netminder Kuznetsov swatting a puck out of play was given a delay of game penalty. So to add insult to injury for the Kazakhs, they're going to be shorthanded to begin the second period.
That's a tough call, because he did swat the puck over the glass, but time had expired, and I would have argued, how can he get a delay game penalty when there's no time left on the clock?
Well, there's short glass back there as well, not the high glass we're accustomed to seeing in the North American buildings, but the Americans 1 for 1 on the power play. We'll have fresh ice to begin that second period as well, as they lead Kazakhstan after 20 minutes of play at the World Hockey Championships by a count of 4-0. The second period of play from the Lanxess Arena in Cologne, Germany is next. Kazakhstan makes its way out onto the ice to get set for the second period of play here in Cologne, Germany at the Lanxess Arena. A 4-0 Team USA lead. And Scott Clemenson, who was true to all 9 shots he saw in the opening period, we weren't questioning whether he would be back between the pipes for the Americans. Scott Gordon not really faced with any decisions there, but at the other end the question was whether or not we would see Alexei Kuznetsov back between the pipes for the Kazakhs. As the officials straightening things out, Team USA will begin this second period on the power play, and Andrei Shanayev made the call that, Brian, you assumed he would make.
Pavel Zhitkov takes over between the pipes. Zhitkov, you know, is listed, John, as being part of the Beres Astana organization, but he did not play a single game in the Continental Hockey League this year. So this is a big step up and a somewhat daunting challenge, I would imagine, for Zhitkov. His team's already down 4-0. Team USA is rolling, and he will start the second period shorthanded. So, you know, it must have been a tough call for Andrei Shanayev. We were wondering why he didn't make the goaltending change earlier. Well, now we really know. Zhitkov does not have a lot of experience at this level.
Yeah, he's just 5'10", 174 pounds. As you saw him getting set there, he's not the biggest guy in the world. You'll see between the pipes, 25 years of age, and he faces an American power play to begin the second period, a power play that is 1 for 1 in this game. Johnson and Yandel start defensively, and Oshie drops down to help out as that errant pass comes to him behind the net. He's got a lot of space through center ice. Hands it off. Yandel across now for Johnson. He walks the line, brings it to the middle, and now serves it back for TJ Oshie. We saw a 3-point first period for Oshie, including a pair of assists. And he is the leading scorer for the Americans thus far in this tournament.
Yeah, that shot was actually a shot attempted for a tip. He was looking for Oposo in the middle of the ice and just failed to connect.
Oposo does get it back, and Gagliardi holds the zone for the Americans. Off the right boards into the middle, it's Oshie once more, and now Johnson at the left point. Gagliardi behind the net. Swipe taken by Semenoff, but he still possesses the puck, and Yandel keeps it deep. Oposo trying to find Johnson coming all the way off the left point, and now he turns back with it. Good puck movement, and coming off that right point was Yandel to try to sneak down, but that pass denied through the box. 45 seconds left in the American man advantage. Gagliardi allowed to stand in the corner, trying to slide it all the way across for Oshie, but it was broken up and sent down. The Kazakhs will get changes on the kill.
Gagliardi may have tried to force that a little bit too much, John. New goaltender. I'm sure Scott Gordon would have preferred to see a few more shots against Zhitkov here in the early going. And the longer it goes before he has to face a tough scoring chance, the more time he has to get a little bit relaxed in that goal crease, feel good about himself.
An offside call leaves 20 seconds on the penalty clock, as David Moss and the rest of the Americans will see a face-off in the neutral zone. Moss, a native of Dearborn, Michigan, who played at the University of Michigan. Brandon Dubinsky, the pride of Anchorage, Alaska, brings it into the zone, but his pass back to the line vacates the zone. So now under 10 seconds remaining. And behind the play, a whistle. I started to say less than 10 seconds remaining in the American power play. As you get a look at Alexei Kaledjev, defenseman for Team Kazakhstan. And we get another penalty called. I did not see that one. It was behind the play. Evgeny Bumagin is called for high sticking.
So we will have a brief 5-on-3 power play, and this face-off is huge. And the Kazakhs win one, but can't get the puck out.
Yeah, a rare win on the face-off for Kazakhstan, who won only one in that opening period. Gilroy was able to hold it in, but the first penalty is now over. That was being served by Evgeny Romariev. Of course, that penalty was against the then goaltender, Alexei Kuznetsov, for delay of game. So the Americans stay on the power play. And it'll be their third man advantage of the game, now 1 for 2. Gilroy, who has 2 of the American goals, sends it around and in, and it's retrieved by Team USA. Green had vacated the point, though, and as it comes across the line, he has to retreat through neutral ice with it. A little nonchalant on this power play for the Americans, Brian?
Well, you know what? In general terms, they've been a little bit too fancy in this second period. They're trying to pass the puck into the net. You got to be willing to take your shots when they're available. Anytime you get down below the top of the circles, especially with an inexperienced goaltender, put it on net.
Short-handed rush the other way. I know 4-goal leads tend to take a lot of urgency out of players' games from time to time, but it just seemed to me that they began the period on the power play, and there was a little sense of, well, we got time, we can do whatever we want. It was a little nonchalant. And now that just that urgency doesn't seem to be there, as they're forced all the way deep into their own zone with only a half a minute remaining in now their second consecutive power play of this period.
Well, I think the other thing that happens, too, is we haven't seen a lot of body contact in this second period.
In this game, really.
Yeah, and without body contact,
Starchenko turned away again. Boy, he has had the best chances for Kazakhstan in this game.
Well, that was a good stop by Scott Clemenson. And, you know, I love the way that Clemenson plays this. He makes another save, very aggressive, moving off of the goal line to challenge the Kazakh shooter.
Starchenko entered this game leading the team in shots on goal. Boy, there's a great opportunity at the side of the net for Potulny, set up by Moss, but he couldn't finish. The Kazakhs the other way. Collision at the blue line. Fadayev was knocked off his skates, and then the puck put out of play by Koreshkov.
And that was Jack Johnson who was standing him up at the blue line, and I like to see a little bit more body contact. Here's that rush up ice. David Moss pass across. Boy, Potulny would like to have another crack at this one, because it was a pretty little feed that just seemed to roll off the toe of the stick of Potulny.
You can see the American dominance in the face-off circle to this point. As you get a good look at Matt Green, the Los Angeles Kings defenseman. And a face-off win for the Kazakhs, forcing the puck to the corner where Jack Johnson, another Los Angeles King, plays it away. Ryan Carter bumped off the puck. There's a little body contact that you were talking about. Pass back to the point, and the shot went off the skate of Green and cleared away by Nystrom. Off an American stick in the neutral zone, but from the wrong side of center ice, so icing the call.
Yeah, we saw it a lot during the Olympic Games. It's the rule in international ice hockey competition, what we call the no-touch icing rule. And I've grown to really embrace it, John. I think it's more punitive to teams that, you know, anytime that the puck crosses the line, automatically the whistle blows and the face-off happens right away, especially since you're not allowed to change defensively. I think that combination and the no-touch icing rules, the team that ices the puck and not being able to make a change, I like the no-touch icing rule a lot more as a result.
Late in the game, as Romayev is dumped after he takes the shot and turned away by Clemenson. Late in the game, some would say it'll give you a little more time on the clock as well, going back to your no-touch icing. Is one of the best chances of the game there from Evgeny Romayev.
See the positioning of the goaltender Clemenson. He is out in front of the goal crease, and Romayev gets drilled by Jack Johnson after he releases that shot, but no passing options for Romayev. That allows the goaltender to read the play and say, don't have to worry about the back door. I can play a little bit more aggressively.
5 minutes gone in this second period. Things have settled a little bit for the Kazakhs, but they trail Team USA 4-0. It was an early onslaught. The Americans getting all 4 of their goals in the first 10.5 minutes. And Clemenson has made some of his best saves here in this second period as he turns away Vorontsov. Chorny the other way, and his shot steered aside. Perhaps the first save officially for Zhitkov since he came into the net. Hansen trying to spin it back up the boards as the Americans try to keep play in the Kazakh zone. Over comes Georgi Petrov, who kicks it free. And the other way, Dmitry Dudarev circles the net, feeds it back to the line, long shot. Didn't get through to Clemenson, lays between the circles, and a backhander shoveled wide by Starchenko, who looks to the heavens because he realized Clemenson couldn't see that shot.
Taylor Chorny's stick broken on the play, and now he's received a stick from one of his own teammates. But some nervous moments for Team USA, and as a whole, John, their level of play has dropped off a little bit.
Here's Starchenko again getting a shot through the screen of a defenseman, and now he has the puck behind the net again on the backhand, shovels it, and Clemenson with a good save through traffic. Scott Clemenson keeping the Americans on top here in the second period at the World Hockey Championship. Part of Team Kazakhstan that has picked their game up here in the second period, Brian Hayward.
Well, Vorontsov is one of the players that was added to the roster prior to the start of this game. It's his first action in the tournament, but you're right, they have started to get their opportunities. Clemenson has been very sharp. He's had to be in this second period, John. He's had at least 3 what I call grade A scoring opportunities that he has had to stare down.
And a couple 10-bell saves from Clemenson, who made 40 saves in the 3-2 loss against Finland on Wednesday, was voted the best player for Team USA despite the loss in that game. Oh, and that pass, I think, went behind him after he made the save, and Gavrilin just couldn't get the handle on it. He had a gaping net on the other side at the far post. And there's a collision on the near side as Vasilchenko stepped into his man just inside the blue line, and that seems to be getting the blood flowing a little bit for the Kazakhs here in the second period. You talked about body contact. I think you were speaking more to the American side of things, but it's the Kazakhs who picked it up a little bit. Oshie turned away as Zhitkov makes his first big save of the game and holds on.
Well, I think that is worth talking about here, because that's really the first good American scoring chance that he had to deal with. Here's Clemenson at the other end, and the puck goes in behind him, and you could see if Gavrilin had been able to control that puck, it was a wide open net staring him in the face. So the Kazakhs come close.
Off the face-off, Mike Lundin of the Tampa Bay Lightning shovels the puck deep into the Kazakh zone, and Brandon Dubinsky sends it back to him. Lundin walks it into the middle and serves it across now. Andy Green's shot went right through the legs of David Moss, around the boards and out. Litvinenko sends it back into the American zone, and retreating with it there is Nick Foligno of the Ottawa Senators. Foligno, born in Buffalo, New York, while his father Mike played with the Sabres, one of 4 different NHL teams Mike Foligno played for in over a 1,000-game career. Now watches his son play at the same level. Gamaria brings it in, tries to drop it back, but no one there to receive it, and it's Foligno the other way for Team USA. Cutting to the middle on his backhand, all the way across, he scores! Nick Foligno with a nifty move. He just held the puck and outweighted Zhitkov. It's 5-0 Team USA.
You know, Foligno is going to get credited with this goal, but this is all about the center lane drive for Team USA that backs everybody off, creates space for Foligno, but also makes life much more difficult for the goaltender, Zhitkov. Here's the turnover deep in American territory, and away goes Team USA. But watch this. Look at the center lane drive by David Moss. The defenseman doesn't do a good job. Semenov lets Moss go, and the goaltender is backing up at this point, and he feels that he couldn't even make a play on the bid by Nick Foligno. But that's a nice backhander, and good speed away from the puck creates a little bit of space for Foligno. And so Team USA goes into a 5-0 lead, John, despite the fact that, quite honestly, the Kazakhs have had the better of the play here in the second period.
Yeah, I was about to ask, how deflating is this? Obviously, you're down 4-0. It's not as if you're one shot away from tying a game or necessarily getting back into it, but you've carried the play now for the better half of the first half of this second period. The Americans go down, get one of maybe 2 real good chances they've had the entire period, and they add to their lead.
Yeah, it's got to be incredibly deflating, because if one of those shots beats Clemenson in the first 5-6 minutes of the second period, and it's a 4-1 game, all of a sudden you have hope. Now at 5-0, boy, it's the coach, Andrei Shayanov, has got a real tough job ahead of him. And that's just to keep his guys going.
Jack Johnson handles for the Americans at center as we near the halfway mark of this hockey game. Long shot from Kreider is held by Zhitkov. Now 5-0 Team USA.
The 1877 $50 half-union gold coin is the largest gold coin ever struck by the U.S. government, weighing over 2.5 ounces of .900 pure gold, announcing the private minting of the 1877 $50 half-union proof. Reserve your own non-monetary copy of the rare
For Team USA.
Well, you see that Foligno gets a lot on that shot, but it was really the play of David Moss. Driving hard to the net, backing off the Kazakh defender and goaltender all in one fell swoop.
Well, the Americans scored 4 goals in their first 3 games of the tournament. And you said it might just be what the doctor ordered at the top of the broadcast, Brian Hayward. So far, dead on, as some players having some big nights offensively for Team USA. Now here's Kennedy walking right to the front of the net, and Jitkov quickly was down to cover the bottom of the net and turn that one aside.
Yeah, when the Americans use their speed and really attack off of the wings, that spells trouble.
Brian Carter trying to toe drag it into his wheelhouse, and it comes right to Christian Hansen trailing the play. His backhander doesn't make it through, and it's Kennedy again who comes up with it. All 3 of the American forwards inside the hash marks in the slot there, mucking for a loose puck, and they're able to come up with it. Jitkov grabs one off the wing, and then Ryan Carter mixing it up with Savchenko after the whistle, and Savchenko gets a couple of late rights in, and we'll see what, if anything, comes of all this.
Well, there's no question that the Kazakhs are frustrated. Obviously, they're a little bit embarrassed by the score at 5-0. Team USA has got to be a little bit careful, John. They don't want to give this team too many opportunities on the power play. They want to just continue to keep the clock running, keep attacking this relatively inexperienced goaltender, Jitkov. And as we have seen in the first half of this game, if you cycle the puck on the Kazakhs, they tend to lose their checks at times in the defensive zone.
Another face-off win for the Americans, and Jitkov scoops up the long shot from Yandel at the right point.
Another thing that might happen less frequently in this game is to see Keith Yandel and Jack Johnson and Jack Hillen joining the play. No need to. In 5-0, no need to gamble. I mean, you want to believe that they're going to be making darn sure that if they do pinch down or if they do join the rush, they're going to have support.
Pass comes through to Hillen, and Jitkov slides over from his left to his right to make a good save, and Hillen a little disappointed in himself there.
Well, he didn't have much room. The goaltender played this well, but this was all about the American forecheck and the ability to win puck battles down low. That's what created the opportunity in the first place. It's another nice pass from T.J. Oshie as well.
Hillen led the WCHA in assists back in his collegiate days at Colorado College, but he was trying to get his first goal of the tournament there. The New York Islander goes back to get this puck, circles the net, and heads back away through center. Coast to coast for Jack Hillen, hands it off to Gagliardi, but it's knocked off his leg, and Alexander Shin moves it the other way for the Kazakhs. Bumagin goes in after it, pumping with Gagliardi, who moves it away, and back up the near side, the Americans able to clear. It's Gagliardi who strides into it at the Kazakh blue line. And Kalajev unable to clear it past him now. Oposo feeds it to a defenseman coming off the blue line. That was Yandel. He kept the play alive, but now retreats to the stripe. Handles it middle of the ice and shovels a backhander towards the net. And the Kazakhs just barely able to clear the zone.
Yep, second period again, long ways away from your bench.
Long shot off of Clemenson, and the rebound was there. Shin came flying in. He ends up in the American net as he fell over Clemenson. Both of them slow to get up. That initial shot seemed to fool Clemenson a little bit as he gave up a rebound, and now Krasno Slobachev's shot is held by the American netminder.
Well, I can't say enough about the play of Scott Clemenson in this game. He thinks he catches that puck, and he was a little bit slow to react, and then there was the collision between Hillen and watch going hard to the net, you know, number 49 for this Kazakh team, and he runs right over top of Clemenson and may have caught a skate.
Yeah, I was concerned looking at that replay whether Shin may have, the skate of Clemenson was around his chin, and I think that may have been what Shin was checking for as he got back up, making sure he still had all of his teeth and all of his body parts. He did get back into the play eventually. Green shot tipped by Moss as the Americans again work in the Kazakhstan zone. 5-0 Team USA. They got 4 of them in the first 10.5 minutes of the game, and they've added 1 here in the second. Vorontsov gives chase behind the American goal, but it's lifted to center, kicked at, and Dubinsky able to kick it deep into the zone. Curls a pass right through the slot, taken back the other way by Team Kazakhstan. Long shot by Dudarev, drifts over top of the American goal, and Matt Green lifts it out of harm's way to center ice. In comes Foligno, his shot deflected, and that went over the glass and into the netting, out of play. We're in the second in Cologne.
Here's the big blast by Litvinenko, and it's Alexander Shin that goes hard into the net. The collision with Scott Clemenson and Jack Hillen.
And our goal cam.
And our goal cam. We might have to get that fixed. Shin appeared to be all right. He was a little bit shaken up, John, but he was fine. He was back on the Kazakh bench, and I don't think he'll miss any shifts.
7:55 to go in the middle period. Ryan Patulny beaten on the draw by Starchenko. It has been a difficult night in the face-off circle for Team Kazakhstan, but I suppose that goes far beyond the face-off circle. It has just been a tough night for them, all told.
Yeah, I think it really started. I think it was kind of foreshadowing the rest of this game when Kuznetsov, quite frankly, wasn't ready to play. And when TJ Oshie scored on the very first shot of the game, it's kind of set the tone as to how this one was going to unfold. For Team USA, it's all good. But for Andrei Shayanov and his club, boy, you just look at the faces of the players on the bench, and they might already be looking ahead, John, to their next game. They'll take on the Italians tomorrow.
Yeah, it is tomorrow, and when you talk about the importance of the relegation round play, we've touched on it a little bit as Kreider's taken down by Semenov behind the net. You know, it's not about winning the relegation round or group. It's about finishing first or second. You have to be able to put a game like this away, particularly when it's your first game. You still got 2 more to play. And the Italians next up for Team Kazakhstan. Team USA, on the other hand, if things continue along this line, Brian, they can't get too high either, because they have a game tomorrow with the French.
And we speculated perhaps this was a throwaway game for Shayanov and Team Kazakhstan. Their most experienced goaltender, Vitaly Ermayev, not even dressed for this game. So were they resting him and looking ahead to the games against France and Italy?
Starchenko has been the most noticeable forward in this game for the Kazakhs.
You're right. He's caught our eye. He's created some scoring opportunities. Hasn't been able to bury any behind Scott Clemenson, but most of that is due to the fine work of Clemenson in this game.
Starchenko, a guy who, again, as we talked about Dudarev earlier, not a big scorer in the Continental Hockey League. Had only 7 goals in 43 games, but he has had some chances. Now it's Antipin who works down low along with Gavrilin. Kaledjev holds it at the line, and some rare offensive zone time here for the Kazakhs. After playing in the U.S. zone quite a bit to begin this second period, boy, but the Foligno goal just really took the wind out of their sails. They were carrying the play where the Kazakhs in the second period, but the Americans have countered back, and ever since the Foligno goal, they have carried the play. Gavrilin plays it behind his own net with now under 6 to go in the second period.
Well, you can see what happens when you don't have a lot of finishers in your lineup. It can be a demoralizing game to play because it's not like the Kazakhs haven't had their chances in this game. Clemenson's been good, but there's just not a lot in terms of the high skill players in their lineup. Guys that can make the difference in a game.
Circling the net, it's Oshie. Oh, wow, did he have a lot of net to shoot at, and he hoisted it over top of the crossbar. Zhitkov came out, but he kind of got lost in the pile up in front of the net, and all of a sudden the seas parted for TJ Oshie. Oposo unable to keep possession. Lundin steps up at the point to hold it in, but the Kazakhs able to work it back out. Now 5 minutes to go second period. 5-0 Team USA as the Americans search for more in the Kazakh zone. Vasilchenkov tied up as he tried to hit Gagliardi, but Gagliardi kept him at bay, and the pass clears the zone. So Lundin all the way back for the Americans.
I'll tell you this much, is that Andrei Shayanov is going to like this second period thus far much more than he liked the first, in terms of how the Kazakhs are maintaining inside position on the American forwards in the defensive zone. In the opening period, whenever Team USA started to cycle the puck, it was bad news. Another good save by Scott Clemmensen, leaves a fat rebound. And here was that play as TJ Oshie would circle the net. You see the goaltender kind of shuffling out on his knees, trying to get out to the top of the goal crease. May have got just a small piece of the Oshie bit.
Fans react to a hit that does not respond in a penalty, and the Americans able to clear their zone. Foligno thought Johnson was coming with him, and a little miscommunication results in the Americans going offside, but we've got an interference penalty coming up here.
And we also got a little bit of bad blood on the ice surface right now.
Vorontsov will go for interference, and the Americans will get their third straight power play in this period and their fourth of the game.
Well, Team USA, we talked about it, John, fancy on their last power play. Looked like they were trying to stick handle it into the goal crease. David Moss must have been involved with the collision with Vorontsov.
Yeah, he's being attended to by Tim Clark, one of the members of the Team USA training staff. Let's see if we can get a look at it right there.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Vorontsov just steps in and drills David Moss, who never touched the puck. And it'll be interesting to see if this is just a 2-minute minor penalty or if it's something more. There's a good look at assistant coach Joe Sacco, who represented Team USA as a player on 6 different occasions at the World Championships. And that might be it for David Moss in this game. See, Stan Wong is also over there attending to him. He got his bell rung on that hit by Vorontsov.
Looks like maybe a little mouse underneath his right eye as well there, as they'll loosen the strap on the helmet. And he'll check and make sure all his faculties are with him. Scott Gordon and the rest of the American coaching staff will be sure that's the case when and if Moss returns to the ice.
Saw Eric Nystrom up on the bench, very agitated. It is a 2-minute minor penalty that has been levied against Vorontsov.
And Brian, you worry at this point, 4 minutes to go in the second period of a 5-goal game. A hit like the one by Vorontsov could trigger a lot of emotion in this game. Eric Nystrom is showing it on the bench, a very tough customer among many American players who know how to play that rugged North American style. We'll watch and see, I guess, how the emotion of this game goes from here.
Well, you're not going to see fighting in this tournament. I can pretty much guarantee you that. But players start to step over the line, shall we speak.
Loose puck as Zhitkov made the save, but boy, it was just tantalizingly laying there for Foligno, who couldn't get a stick on it. Fourth American power play of the game. They're 1 for 3 and looking to add to an already 5-goal cushion. Dubinsky, who has a couple of assists in this game for Team USA, behind the net. Nice feed into the middle, and Patolny kind of had to go off the heel of his stick and in. They're ruling that's a goal, but they will go upstairs. That may have gone off his skate.
Well, it did go off his skate, and just looking at Patolny's reaction, I don't think he believes.
No, he wasn't sure. Immediately looked over his shoulder at the referee. Great pass by Dubinsky. Yandel makes one more pass, and I think he may have gotten his stick on it after it came off his skate.
Well, again, is it a distinct kicking motion that puts it in? You are allowed to angle your skate towards the net, and he angles it. I don't think he kicks it in. So this one will be in the hands of the video replay officials.
He waved at it with his stick as it came off his skate. Whether or not it touched the end of his blade or not was very difficult to tell. Patolny either way having a laugh about it. The Americans have either gone up 6-0 or they'll remain on the power play as they will review this one. That was a great pass by Dubinsky to Yandel, and you talked about it earlier, Brian, the fact that the Americans have been, I guess, very giving with their passing, because I thought that was a golden opportunity for Yandel, and he makes one additional pass over to Potulny coming in off the wing.
Well, Yandel spotted the goaltender, who was aggressively moving out to challenge. And so, you know, he made the right play. It's hard to argue. The puck is in the net. It's off the foot of Potulny. Is it a good goal? It is. And so this one counts, John, I believe, because it was not directed into the net with a distinct kicking motion. So here's one more look. Yes, the foot is angled. I don't believe Potulny gets a touch on that puck with his stick blade, but it's ruled not a kick. And so it's a good goal. And so Team USA strikes on the power play to make it 6-0.
And Dubinsky's going to get his 3rd assist of the game, along with Yandel on the goal. 2 power play goals and 4 opportunities for the Americans, who now lead 6-0. Jitkov has given up a pair and now make it 3 as Gilroy completes the hat trick with a one-timer from outside the top of the right circle.
A big rebound. Matt Gilroy jumps on it, and he just rips it through the goaltender, Jitkov. Now, Matt Gilroy, what a story his career really is. I mean, he made the Boston University team as a walk-on, John, and he was originally a forward, converted to a defenseman, who ended up being the Hobey Baker Award winner as the best player in NCAA college hockey that season. Here's the rebound. It comes all the way back to Gilroy. I think it goes in off the defenseman. Oh, my goodness. I mean, I was blaming Jitkov for this one, but it's Kolodyaev who redirects that puck in behind his own goaltender.
7-0 Team USA. The extra point is good. And another assist for Brandon Dubinsky. 4 helpers so far on the night, as the Americans pulling away from Kazakhstan, now 7-0 in the second. And you talked earlier about whether we'll see Jack Johnson and Keith Yandel continuing to join the rush. My question now down the stretch is, will we continue to see Jack Johnson and Keith Yandel at all?
That's a good point. Look at that. There's not even room on the back of Krasnoblatsev's jersey. And I think I may have left out a syllable or 2 on that name.
Or 2, yeah.
Yeah, Krasnoslabatsev. There you go. Not even room on the back of his jersey. You know what? It's a good point, John, because, of course, tomorrow Team USA will take on France. They win that game, and they would avoid relegation and guarantee themselves a spot in the World Hockey Championships Elite Division again next spring, which is really the goal at this point. We have another penalty coming up here against the Kazakhs, and so the Americans will head back out onto the power play.
Vadim Krasnoslabatchev will get the gate, and it's just not getting any better for Kazakhstan here. Makes contact with the head of Tim Kennedy there.
The referees are going to keep a very close eye in a game that is now a rout. Yeah, and that's the indication of the referee. Contact with the head, checking to the head. It's a automatic 10-minute misconduct penalty that is tacked on to the 2-minute minor.
So they'll straighten that out as the Americans get set to go on their 5th power play. And you can see Romariev will serve the minor, and then the misconduct will carry on for Krasnoslabatchev.
Team Kazakhstan.
And the Americans 2 for 4 on the power play, all the way down to get one. 7-0 Team USA as Yandel led it ahead. The Americans seem to get over that blasé start to the second period. And the Kazakhs seem to lose all their momentum when Foligno got the goal that made it 5-0. And since then, the Americans have played primarily in the Kazakhstan zone. And a bouncing puck that is touched by the Kazakhs and will bring yet another penalty call here, as slashing is the indication on Solarev.
And now it's a 5-on-3 power play and significant 5-on-3 power play time. So, you know, I believe that Shayanov's got to be very concerned about the way his players are conducting themselves, because, you know, what happens sometimes in these tournaments, especially in games like this, is that you're not going to see your opponent again.
Yeah.
And so when players start to take liberties, they tend to go way over the line, and that's what the referees are trying to guard against by calling it tight.
And this has just been a parade to the penalty box ever since we just saw David Moss on the American bench, ever since that hit on Moss, and he appears to at least be done for the period. He had a towel over his shoulder. He's sitting next to backup goaltender Ben Bishop all the way down at the end of the bench. Of course, there's only 2 minutes remaining in the period, and now the Americans with a 2-man advantage. And that will last another minute, and they are patient as they work it around, and Jack Johnson's shot is deflected out of play.
And I think Gagliardi got a touch on that puck, and it'll be interesting to see if this faceoff stays inside the offensive zone or comes outside the blue line. Team USA, yeah, it's party time for the American
faithful
fans.
are enjoying it finally here in Cologne, whether it was in Gelsenkirchen or whether here in Cologne. There has not been a lot to cheer about for the fans of Team USA. Gilroy already has a hat trick. Plays a little give and go on the left side of the zone, slides a pass through the penalty killing box, and Dubinsky turned away as Zhitkov held his ground. Now a minute 20 to go in the period, 30 seconds remaining in the 2-man advantage for Team USA. Patulny goes to the front of the net, and Dubinsky jams it home. It is 8-0.
Well, Dubinsky has time, and so he's manipulating that puck around in front of the goaltender. Zhitkov just trying to get him to move and open up, and eventually it's exactly what happened, and Dubinsky was able to find a little bit of a hole. So a goal and 3 assists for Brandon Dubinsky, but look at the time that he has. He's inside the dot, quick little stick handle, and he essentially gets the goaltender to bite on one. Once he gets him to hit the ground and fall on his knees, he still has enough time to change the shooting angle. Watch this. Changes the shooting angle now by about 1.5 feet and creates space on the blocker side.
Six different goal scorers for Team USA. It's 8-0, and what a night for Brandon Dubinsky. Team USA stays on the power play where they have already produced 3 goals. Still a minute 3 remaining in the slashing penalty to Salarev. And that just about says it all. Romaryev's look on the Kazakh bench. 4 goals in the first for Team USA, 4 goals in the second, and looking for more. Now some new personnel on Scott Gordon's power play as Matt Green gets some rare extra man time. From the middle of the ice, a save made by Zhitkov, and this time he's able to gain the whistle by covering the rebound.
And he had to battle to make that stop. And here's one of the differences, John. I mentioned at the top of the show that this defense is not the biggest defense. You know, with the exception of Litvinenko, there's not a lot of size on the blue line for the Kazakhs. So, you know, when you have Tim Kennedy getting inside defenders, Kennedy's not the biggest guy in the world, and battling his way to the front of the goal crease, it's an indication that the Kazakhs just aren't doing the job boxing out the American forwards.
Another face-off win for Team USA. Hillen's shot creates a rebound. Hansen trying to stuff it through. Kennedy gets to it, and he scores.
And
well, an almost bashful reaction to scoring of the goal by Tim Kennedy.
Yeah, and you know, now it's got to the point where it's not even that much fun right now to play in a game like this. It's 9-0. The Kazakhs are no longer competing in and around the front of their goal crease, and Team USA is just taking full advantage. I mean, look at all of the stick checking that's going on in and around that goal crease. Maxim Semenov is having a tough game here against Team USA, and it reached the point where you start to feel sorry for the opposing goaltender. At least I do. I'm still in the goaltenders union, and right now Zhitkov is by himself. I mean, he's not really even qualified to be playing at this level in the first place, and he's getting zero support from his teammates.
Well, it is point night for Team USA. 7 different goal scorers, 13 different players appearing on the score sheet. It is 9-0 in the final minute of the second period. And this is ironic, Brian, because the way the second period began, it was so much better for Team Kazakhstan. They were carrying the play. They were hanging with the Americans. It was still only 4-0. And now they've given up 5 goals in the period and are down 9.
Yeah, and after the 6th goal, they stopped playing.
Here's Dudarev, and Clemenson keeps his shutout intact, making a save, and the puck played by an American high stick with only 2 seconds remaining in the period.
Well, now, Coach Andrei Shayanov of the Kazakhs, he's got a big job on his hands to get this team ready for the 3rd period. And I would expect that the 3rd period, you're not going to see these undisciplined penalties from the Kazakhs. I would expect more of a kind of what we call a no-hitter in the 3rd period, because now the focus will change for them. It will shift from this game towards the next game. They've been embarrassed in this game, but they're going to go back to their locker room. Their coach is going to say to them, okay, look, everything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong for us, but let's not continue to embarrass ourselves by taking stupid penalties. Let's get in there and focus on our next game and getting ready to play for that one. So I think we're going to see a real up-tempo 3rd period, but I don't expect to see a lot of power plays in the 3rd.
4 power play goals for Team USA. We are only through 2 periods of play at the Lanxess Arena in Cologne, Germany. Team USA 9, Kazakhstan nothing on Universal Sports. Well, it's a point parade for Team USA, in part in the 2nd period because it was a parade to the penalty box for Team Kazakhstan. Now 9-0. The Americans have the lead through 40 minutes of play.
And what was strange is that the Kazakhs got off to a great start in the 2nd period, couldn't score. He was playing by himself, but Team USA, good puck movement. They zip it down low. Terrible, terrible defensive zone coverage by Maxim Semenov. He's not taking the puck. He's not tying up his checks. He's trying to play goal, and whenever a defenseman tries to do that, it usually doesn't work out quite so well. And that's a gimme for Tim Kennedy.
Two defenders right at the top of the crease. No one took Tim Kennedy, and that's got to be part of the conversation in the locker room for Team Kazakhstan. You can see it's been a shooting gallery. Teams have combined for nearly 60 shots on goal, but the power play numbers tell the story.
Yeah, and 4 goals in just a 2-minute and 55-second span. Essentially, Kazakhstan got undisciplined in the second period. At times in the defensive zone, I thought they just stopped playing. They weren't clearing rebounds. They left their goaltender all by himself. And Team USA, a team that entered this game starving for some kind of offense, has taken full advantage. And it is a very, very relaxed Team USA as we head into the third period. But I do expect a much better performance from the Kazakhs in the third.
Well, Team USA feeling good about themselves, on top 9-0 as we head to the third period on Universal Sports. USA heads out to begin the third period of play against Team Kazakhstan, leading 9-0. Both of these teams, Brian, as we have mentioned on a couple of occasions, will play tomorrow, and as a result, everybody perhaps looking ahead in this relegation round. We got a quick look at Ben Bishop, who will go between the pipes for Team USA here in this third period. Certainly not because Scott Clemenson hasn't been very good. 23 saves for Clemenson through the first 2 periods of play. But with games on back-to-back days and the fact that you're playing in the relegation round period, Team USA has to look ahead.
Yeah, very smart move by the head coach. Scott Gordon, a former goaltender himself, is going to get Ben Bishop a little bit of work. And you can see Gordon there talking to the referees, and I can guarantee he's talking about that hit against David Moss. I mean, anytime a player is hit who hasn't
USA as we set to begin the third period of play. We saw at the other end it is still Pavel Zhitkov between the pipes for Team Kazakhstan, who look ahead tomorrow to a game against Team Italy. The Italians and French playing today in the other relegation round game. And of course, the top 2 teams will return to the World Championships next year. The other 2 will be relegated. And we were talking about the decision and goaltenders made by Andrei Shayanov, the head coach of Team Kazakhstan, in this game. Perhaps they look ahead at the French and Italian as the 2 games, Brian, that they feel that they can get points from. Certainly, it doesn't appear that they'll get any points out of this one. Bishop makes his first save, is unable to cover as Shafronov works below the goal line in the American zone.
And one other point I'll make, John, is that very first shift of this period, I thought that the Kazakhs could have been called for a holding penalty down low.
Should have been.
So it looks like the referees are also very cognizant of the fact that it's a 9-0 game, and they don't want to make too many calls if they don't have to.
Gavrilin sends one across the American crease, and it caroms all the way out center ice. And Tippin plays it across, and Koledjev sends it back in. Pass taken by Patalny, who has a goal and an assist in this game. Can't get it to the Kazakh net. Nick Karam's out center ice. Grand Ledge, Michigan native Matt Green plays it there. And opening up the middle for Patalny, and it's poked off his stick by Gavrilin, who recovered on the back check. Eric Nystrom out of Syosset, New York, sends it behind the net, and the Americans with changes able to keep the puck alive only momentarily in the zone.
I think we're going to see a lot more ice time for Ryan Carter, Christian Hansen, Chris Kreider, Eric Nystrom. Players that have not played a ton in this game, John. Scott Gordon's going to really use his full bench.
Well, all in the name of looking ahead to tomorrow, as you mentioned, as well as in the name of getting experience to your players who maybe you mentioned they haven't played that much here tonight. They really haven't played all that much in the tournament, relatively speaking, through the first 3.5, 4 games now.
It's a very young Team USA, and a lot of what this tournament has been about for the Americans is giving people, you know, opportunity to play at this level for the first time in their young careers. A very young team. Only Jack Johnson, we've mentioned this before, played on the U.S. Olympic team in the silver medalist club in Vancouver.
Mike Lundin, another of those players we haven't seen a lot of, fires one wide. You know, and we've talked a lot, both Team Canada and Team USA, and basically I'd say all the teams in this tournament doing the same thing. It's an Olympic year. The factors that come into play when putting a roster together, especially when you're picking primarily from a pool of NHL players, we've seen from Team Canada and Team USA an opportunity to deepen the pools, give new players a chance to play at the international level, and then next time you're looking to put that roster together, you got more to choose from. Certainly, you know, there's the insurance factors, whether or not players end their seasons injured and need surgeries, whether or not, you know, their contracts have expired, whether they're going to be restricted or unrestricted free agents. There's just so many factors that come into play for these national teams when they put these rosters together.
And the exception to that rule is Team Russia, who just added Sergei Gonchar, Evgeny Malkin from the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they now have 12 players on their roster that did play in Vancouver.
Be there to witness the drama as Titans clash for the crown of world champion. The World Hockey Championship live on Universal Sports. This is the
hours. It's going to come down to
a thus far scoreless third period from the Lanxess Arena in Cologne, Germany. 9-0 Team USA on top after 2 periods of play, and the international debut of one Ben Bishop now between the pipes for Team USA, and he's gotten a little action here in the first 3.5 minutes of this third period.
Well, you can see with Ben Bishop, you know, when he falls down on his knees, John, his shoulders are still at crossbar height or above. So, you know, most goaltenders, they fall down and it exposes the top of the net. When you're 6'7", that doesn't apply to you.
Bishop got in 48 games for the Peoria Rivermen, the American League affiliate of the St. Louis Blues, this past season. He was a third-round selection for the Blues back in 2005. Played 3 years of college hockey at the University of Maine. Yandel stretches it up the left side, and the Americans, Christian Hansen gets it in, and it's slowly rolled to Zhitkov, who made the stop.
Looks like Zhitkov wants to keep the clock moving here as well, as he just kind of gloved that puck ahead and said, let's keep it going.
Well, for Team Kazakhstan, they have now surrendered in 4 games in this tournament 23 goals. As Hansen busts back in on the right side, slides it all the way across, and Zhitkov fights off the shot from Hillen. Or excuse me, it was Nystrom. Now Eric Nystrom kept to the outside by Gavrilin, and over comes Vasilchenkov to finish the check. One-time bid fanned on by Patalny, and Matt Green drops back. Patalny gets it back and tried to go high short side, and that one missed the mark and goes off the high glass and around.
And for the Americans, John, this is all about not picking up any bad habits heading into that big game tomorrow against the French. I mean, they'll know after this one that if they win tomorrow, they will avoid relegation, and that's really what the 3 remaining games are all about for Team USA. Great start to the relegation round for them with their performance here against Kazakhstan.
Bumagin loses the puck in the neutral zone. And now the Americans regroup. Lundin's pass a little too far for TJ Oshie. 4 in the first, 5 in the second for Team USA. 4 have come on the power play.
You know, one of the things that has really impressed me about this game has been the play of Oshie. He got it rolling for Team USA with the opening goal, but boy, what we've seen from Oshie is what we've come to expect watching him play for the St. Louis Blues, and that is, you know, he's the complete package. He's a powerful kid. He can really shoot the puck, but he's got great hands, and he can make plays.
And there's Alexei Vorontsov. Remember, he was the player who got the hit on David Moss, whom we have not seen return to action since then in the second period, and the Americans started pouring it on ever since then. Spiridonov circles back. Andrei Spiridonov plays with his brother Maxim in the Continental League during the regular season. His brother Maxim was a draft pick back in 1998 of the Edmonton Oilers.
And we're unsure. We're speculating, John, that he's not playing because he's injured. He was never on the roster for this tournament. And he's a scorer. But Bishop almost gives one away in behind the goal line.
And he got bailed out there by his defense as Kennedy dropped all the way down in the zone and was able to knock the puck loose. Kreider, deep in the Kazakh zone, gets it to the point, and the shot knuckles in on Zhitkov, who gets the whistle. He never covered the puck, but we're going to get some penalties as some jostling in the front of the net after the whistle. Tim Kennedy involved. I think both teams will lose a player in a 9-0 game, third period.
The 18...
We told you we had penalties as we were going away to break. Georgi Petrov sits for Team Kazakhstan, and he was alongside Vadim Krasnoslabachev, who's still serving that 10-minute misconduct that he got for contact to the head late in the second period. Tim Kennedy goes off for Team USA as well, still 5-on-5. And the shot again comes through to the netminder Zhitkov, and he covers up. Excuse me, the additional penalty, or the only penalty, did go against Petrov. I thought that Kennedy was going to go as well, but it's the Americans, Brian, who are on a power play here.
And you can see what Scott Gordon is doing here. A real classy move is that he essentially has his fourth-line players out to start this power play for Team USA.
Team Kazakhstan was averaging 10 minutes in penalties a game coming into tonight as Lundin launches one that bounces off a couple different players.
Yeah, that may have caught a piece of the post.
He'll try again, and this one rattles the high glass.
Boy, he had space. The one thing that the Kazakhs need to work on is a penalty killer.
All right, defender without a stick now goes to the bench to change instead of getting a new stick. So there's debris in the zone as well as an extra American. The Kazakhs have killed only 2 of 6 U.S. power plays off so far. And a one-timer misfired on, went in behind the goal. 24 minutes in penalties to finish my original thought to this point in this game for Team Kazakhstan. So a little out of their nature, and it has cost them dearly. Dubinsky wanted to launch a one-timer, but pass wasn't in his wheelhouse. He kicks it up and passes back. Lundin watched out high there by Bumagin. Gives it to Hillen. Tried to force it in front for Hansen, but that was blocked. And the Kazakhs failed to clear.
Boy, Team USA got away with a slash, John. Knocked the stick out of the hand of a Kazakh defender. It was Litvinenko who had his stick just chopped in half, and no call on the play.
And there's the penalty minutes we spoke of earlier. We should correct the graphic we showed you earlier. Brandon Dubinsky's had a big night. We listed him as having a goal and 3 assists. He actually has a goal and 4 assists in this game, as he has led the scoring parade for Team USA. Now the final seconds of the 7th American power play of the game winding down, and a nice play by Spiridonov to deny a pass at the blue line. And Kazakhstan full strength. Taylor Chorney picks it up from behind the American goal, and he'll skate it all the way through center himself. On right wing for Kennedy, knocked away from him by Semenov. Kennedy trails the play now, leans on Semenov in behind the Kazakh goal. It's rimmed up and out of the zone to center ice. Spun around was Dudarev. He has not been much of a factor in this game after scoring goals in all 3 of the preliminary round games for Team Kazakhstan.
No, the one forward we've talked about has been Starchenko, who has been dangerous and probably had 3 grade A opportunities against Clemenson in the first couple of periods of this game. But, you know, to me, the Kazakh defense has just been completely overmatched, not only in dealing with the speed, but the size of the American forwards. There was that post shot, just had the goaltender beaten cleanly. Hillen had time to put it on a tee and rip it. The goaltender was all by himself, as he has been repeatedly throughout this game.
Yeah, the 35 shots that the Americans had on the Kazakh goal through 2 periods of play represents the most they've had in any game in this tournament. Of course, the 9 goals far and away the most they've had. Oshie appeared to go offside as Johnson brought it back in, but as you mentioned earlier, Brian, the officials as aware of the scoreboard as anyone. And Tippin plays it out of his own zone, but right through the middle, and that's picked off by the Americans. Gandil skates it in off a bad angle, and Zhitkov able to fight that one off. Oposo keeps it in.
And Keith Yandel has dialed it back in this game. I mean, completely changed the way that he has played so far in this tournament. I think he's played very, very well, picking his spots, joining the attack, but here he's just kind of hanging back. That was one of the few occasions where he was up on the play.
Well, the Americans being very benevolent to a man in this 3rd period. Everybody trying to make the pass as Koreshkov makes a pass over, and Zhailov taken down, no call. They try to stuff it again. It's Koreshkov getting to a loose puck at the front of the net as Bumagin tried to step out. I'd say the one thing where the Americans probably haven't dialed it down here as this 3rd period has gone along is their attempt to keep the 0 on the scoreboard. They know Scott Clemenson is no longer in line to get the shutout, but as a team, you'd love to have the shutout and the shared shutout for the goaltenders as well.
Oh boy, Bishop gets away with one. It's a wrist shot that goes off the glove and then off of the crossbar.
That was Kraslo Slobachev, who just came out of the penalty box after having served his 10-minute misconduct, and he very nearly put the Kazakhs on the board.
Well, here's the shot by Krasno Slobachev. It's off the thumb of the catching glove and off of the crossbar, and that's a big break for Ben Bishop.
So that aforementioned shutout that I was just talking about very nearly went by the wayside right there.
You put the old
broadcaster's curse.
Broadcaster's jinx on the goaltender. How many times are you going to mention that shutout the rest of the way?
Well, you're the goalie. You just said the S word. Offside the call here as you get a look at Ryan Carter. We probably will see a good bit of the remaining 8 minutes in this game for Team USA.
Keep an eye on Vorontsov. It was Vorontsov that took that run at David Moss, and you want to believe the Americans are very aware of him.
And they are very aware of him, and that may be the reason for the whistle here. We will step aside, winding down in Cologne, all Team USA, as Vorontsov is in the crosshairs of the red, white, and blue right now. Well, Brian, you were talking about Alexei Vorontsov being in the crosshairs of the Americans for the remaining 8 minutes. He goes off right now along with Eric Nystrom. They're both called for high sticking minors at 12:04 this 3rd period. So that's just 2 more minutes where the officials don't have to worry about Vorontsov, but when he comes out of the box, something tells me Eric Nystrom won't stay away from him.
No.
Or will any of the Americans.
Yeah, he's in the crosshairs, no question about it. Cheap shot on David Moss. And as I mentioned, the players, you know, the American players know they're not going to see this guy again, maybe never.
Yeah.
And so if you don't want to let a guy have a free pass in a game like this, maybe, you know, on a play where obviously David Moss has been injured, and we only hope that Moss will be available for that game against France tomorrow.
Yeah, we've talked about how the coaching staff and the players have to be looking ahead to their next games in the relegation round, which begin tomorrow. The U.S. will play France, Italy, and Kazakhstan will play. The French have won today, Brian, 2-1 over Team Italy, so that game takes on a great deal of meaning for Team USA now. A win there, and that would guarantee them of finishing in the top 2 in the relegation round.
But just as important for the French. I mean, they're thinking the same thing.
Absolutely.
You know, they win, they know that the pressure is off and they don't have to beat Kazakhstan in their final game. So, you know, I expect to see a much different type of game. And Team USA has already played France in an exhibition game, their lone exhibition game. Prior to the start of this tournament, the Americans won it by a score of 3-1, and in that game, the French actually had a 1-0 lead. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds tomorrow. A big game for both of these teams.
Yeah, TJ Oshie had a couple of goals in that exhibition game. Oshie with a goal and an assist, all in the first period of this one, as he got the Americans going with not only the game's first goal, but he figured in 3 of the first 4. As Team USA ran away from Kazakhstan here this afternoon early, getting 4 goals in the first 10.5 minutes of the game, then exploding for 4 more in a 2-minute and 55-second span late in the second. And both teams kind of just making their way through this third period, which now has just over 6 minutes remaining. 9-0, as was the score after 2. It has been all Team USA, and now the coincidental minors expire to Vorontsov and Nystrom. And they both stay out on the ice as we get an offside call.
Yeah, a lot of stick checking going on in the defensive zone right now. There's not a lot of body work as both teams look to, I think, avoid contact at this stage. Brandon Dubinsky's going to prove me wrong as he continues to be physical with the body. That was Dudarev that he got a pretty good angle on inside the Kazakh defensive zone.
Now it's a Poso lined up with Vorontsov on the near side of the circle, and the referee comes over to stand close by and monitor the situation as best he can. And yet another face-off win for the Americans, who have been truly dominant in that department, forcing Zhitkov to cover up. The Kazakhs are well represented in the crowd as well. They will drop to 0-4 in this tournament. The Americans on the verge of their first win. 2 of their 3 losses in preliminary round play, of course, came in overtime and proved to be their undoing. Their inability to get it done in the extra session in either of those games, costing them an opportunity to move on to the qualification round.
And as expected, we're seeing Scott Gordon kind of change things up a little bit here in terms of his personnel on the ice. Andy Green wandering up into the offensive zone that time.
Well, we haven't seen David Moss since he was hit by Vorontsov late in the second period. And it doesn't shorten your bench as much as you might think, as you're allowed to carry 22 players and dress 22 players for a game. Both teams carrying 3 goaltenders, but you can only dress 2 per game. So it doesn't affect the line combinations as much as it might, say, at a minor league level or even at the NHL level, where you're able to dress 2 less players. But again, looking forward, as you see the face-off dominance for Team USA in this game, looking forward, whether or not Moss can go tomorrow would certainly affect line combinations for Scott Gordon.
Yeah, Moss a big part of one of the top 2 lines for Gordon, and Gordon has, you know, he's kind of front-loaded his scores onto the top 2 lines, and you know, it's the architect of this team, Brian Burke, has been known to, you know, kind of put together 2 scoring lines, a checking line, and a 4th line, which he likes to call his energy line. So one of those checkers will be moved up if Moss can't go tomorrow.
Americans have been dressing 8 defensemen throughout the tournament as well, as we see Matt Gilroy, who has had a huge day for Team USA right now. He has a hat trick in this one. Gilroy scored only 4 goals this season in 69 games for the New York Rangers. You mentioned the Hobie Baker winner. Here's a young man who went undrafted, Brian, and then signed as a free agent coming out of college by the Rangers after that Hobie Baker season.
Well, he was a guy that was a late bloomer. So, as I mentioned, a walk-on at Boston University to Hobie Baker, award winner. You've come a long way during your college career, and he has continued to progress at the professional level as well. One of those diamonds in the rough that, you know, that scouts are always looking for. Someone who's maybe flying under the radar just a little bit, but has the skills to make an impact in the pro level.
And perhaps the most impressive part of his rookie campaign with the Rangers is not only that he played 69 games, but he was even on the plus-minus side of things. Always a telltale sign, particularly for young defensemen at that level. Dubinsky trying to force his way to the front of the net. It went off of the Kazakh netminder Zhitkov into the wing, where it's cleared away. Down to 3:15 now to go in this game, and of course the result has not been in doubt for some time. Team USA on top of Team Kazakhstan 9-0. Bumagin with the hit in the corner, but the puck goes behind the net. Foligno, who has one of the 9 goals for the Americans, who have 7 different goal scorers in this game, stays behind the net but can't get the pass back.
Now Team USA content to keep that puck along the boards and in the Kazakh zone. They're just worrying about the shutout at this point.
Krasno Slabachev trying to bring it to the front of the net, but it was poked away from him as Lundin battles in the corner for it. In comes Bumagin, and Alexander Shin works at the hash mark. Foligno took it away. You just said the S word again, didn't you? Goalies aren't supposed to do that. Semenov now with only 2:15 remaining for Team Kazakhstan. And it's cleared to center. Nearly picked up by Vorontsov. But the Americans keep it away and now regroup back in their own zone.
Obviously, in a rout like this, an awful lot to like about Team USA's game, John. But, you know, we should talk about them defensively and the way that they were able to protect their blue line. There weren't a lot of odd man opportunities for the Kazakhs in this game, which tells me that people are in the right position when your opponent is on the attack. You have support, and I think that Team USA now playing their 4th game in this tournament, hopefully starting to come together, not only in terms of creating offense, but in limiting those outnumbered opportunities. It was a problem for them at times, especially I thought in the game against Denmark.
And speaking of Denmark in this tournament, they surprised some people yesterday with a win over the Slovaks, 6-0 in the qualification round. And the surprises seem to continue in this tournament, certainly and unfortunately so. Team USA being in this relegation round, one of the big surprises so far in this tournament. But I think on the other side of things, you have to look at Team Denmark and say maybe the biggest surprise to date in this tournament.
I don't think there's any question. And boy, some of their young players, I mean, they're on their way up. The Peter Regans of the world have shown everybody that they're big-time players at the elite level. I mean, we saw Regan with the Ottawa Senators have an incredible playoff round for them. But boy, he has been tremendous in this tournament.
Icing the call here on Team Kazakhstan. Really no surprise, as we talked about, that Kazakhstan finds themselves here where they are. They came into the tournament as their pre-tournament ranking 18th in the world, so they knew that they were playing for probably the opportunity to put themselves back here in this tournament next year in Slovakia, and certainly that chance still abounds for them. This game certainly did not go their way as Kreider gets a couple of chances and scores on his own rebound. The 19-year-old who came into the game leading the team at +2, who picked up an assist against Finland, now gets his first goal in international play as a member of Team USA. It's 10-0.
Oh, great moment for the young man, Chris Kreider, and this is all about perseverance for him. Right off of the face-off, he wins a battle for the puck. Goaltender stops the wraparound, but he hangs in there and gets to the rebound, and Zhitkov can't slide across.
Nice shot.
And get to protect that short side. So credit Kreider, Ditkov panics a little bit there as he dives at it, and that puck seemed to go through him between the arm and the body to make it 10-0 for Team USA. But great moment for Chris Kreider.
He becomes the 8th different goal scorer for Scott Gordon's Team USA tonight with just a minute 3 remaining, and it's a bookend effort. The Americans score 55 seconds into the game and now score with just a minute 3 remaining in the game. And they've hit double digits in Cologne tonight here at the Lanxess Arena, 10-0 Team USA.
Well, and all Team Kazakhstan will be thinking about, John, is they got to put this one behind them. If they beat France and Italy, they stay in the elite division, the World Championships. Otherwise, they're going to be relegated again down to Division 1.
Well, as we've talked about, the Americans will relish the victory, but they will not have long to do that because they have to get ready for the French tomorrow. Kazakhstan on the same plane gets ready for Italy, and as I was saying before, Kreider so rudely interrupted me by scoring a goal, that opportunity still does exist for Team Kazakhstan, and that's the beauty of the 24-hour turnaround.
Yep, that's right. Sometimes it's easier to play. You don't have to sit on it. You know, clearly from, I would say, about 7 minutes remaining in the second period, you could just see that all the wind had been taken out of their sails, and they were just trying to get through this for the most part.
Well, they're 15 seconds away from being through it. Krasno Slabachev brings it to center ice. I had to say the name just one more time. And now heads to the American net. Shot hoisted over the U.S. goal. And now taken carefully to the corner by Dubinsky. Time will run out, and it is complete. The Americans get goals from 8 different players, points from 14 different players, and a combined shutout from Scott Clemenson and Ben Bishop in an absolute domination of Kazakhstan. 10-0 tonight here in Cologne.
They went into this game having only scored 4 goals in their first 3 games of the tournament, and to put 10 up on the board. For the first time, Scott Gordon can smile in this tournament. It was an offensive explosion. I thought the big guns, Oshie, Dubinsky, Oposo, Patolny, David Moss, until he got knocked out of the action. You know, 5 of the top 6 American forwards were dangerous in this game, and hopefully they can bring that same dangerousness to the game tomorrow night against the French.
You can see that game here on Universal Sports beginning at 3 o'clock Eastern tomorrow as Team USA gets their first win of the 2010 World Hockey Championships convincingly. They defeat Kazakhstan 10-0 in Cologne at the Lanxess Arena today. For Brian Hayward, this is John Allers saying thanks for being with us and good night, everybody.